Welcome to episode 49 of Relics of Orr. I'm your host Shonkaku, and joining me today is Tiger Feet,
Hello!
Christian.
Been a while.
Yeah, it has been. It's good to have you back. Finally got a great group, and we've got Christian as well.
Hello again.
And Spirit. We've all been playing a fair amount, although poor Tiger Feet is in exile. So in the race to 80, how are you guys doing? I know Tiger Feet's what? What level are you, Tiger?
18.
Oh. And why is that?
That is because when I bought my game, I bought it through GameStop so I could pay it off. So when I was in the betas, I was relying on the kindness of others to give me beta keys. And I got all kinds of confused, apparently, when making my account, and I ended up with 2 accounts. And when I applied my retail code, I applied my pre-purchase code to one account, which has my Hall of Monuments and all my Head Start characters on it. And then when I got my retail code, somehow I applied that to the other account. So I can play one, but it doesn't have my Hall of Monuments or my original characters on it, or my names.
Oof.
Yeah. So I can play, but it's like, these aren't the character names I want. I don't have my Hall of Monuments. So I figured if going into exile was good enough for Will Wheaton, it's good enough for me until they get it fixed.
I've heard a number of people in the same boat as you. I know there were some people from Guildcast who had exactly the same problem. Yeah. And I think they may have theirs sorted out now. I'm not sure. I think one of them may have just carried on playing on the other account and just given up on the first one. But with all the monuments and names and pre-purchase stuff, that's lame.
Yeah, if you're a new player, it's not as much of an issue. But if you've got HOM and all of that, and then you bought the collector's edition, that
yeah, which I did. So
it's a significant investment on both sides.
Mm-hmm. So I've started updating my ticket daily, hoping that gets some. It's been 3 weeks. I think I've been patient.
Yeah.
And I know they're busy.
Man. Well, Christian, how far are you along on the race to 80?
I hit 80 last week.
Nice. How are you enjoying it?
Cool. I realized. So what happened was that I think around the level 72 mark, I started getting a bit antsy and was like, almost there. And then Spirit was just like always about half a level ahead of me, and that was kind of like I had to beat her. And so she did some crafting with a boost, which skipped her ahead like 1.5 levels. And I was like, I should do that as well. And so at some point she'd gone. I was up late. And New Zealand's so far ahead in time that everyone in the States is asleep. So I was secretly beavering away on leveling and zipped through to 80. But the funny thing is that before that, like from level 40 to level 69, so to speak, I didn't give a damn about what level I was because it really didn't matter. And now it's the same. It's like it doesn't matter that I'm 80. It just means that the content for level 80s isn't sort of too hard or restricted from me.
Right. You can actually go to the Cursed Shore and actually run around and not die horribly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool. It works.
Nice. Spirit, how are you? So you must have hit 80 pretty quick then too.
After he hit 80, I no longer had incentive to rush to 80 to be. So, and I refused to get to 80 outside of Orr. That was my goal, was to hit 80 in Orr. And so I started working on alts for a few days. I have now hit 80. I've been playing in Orr the last few days. I hate leveling with a burning fiery passion, and now that I have all the content unlocked, I'm like, well, whatever, I'll just go do whatever I want. So that's all I wanted out of 80, really. Traits I could care less about.
That's true, and it does seem that once you hit 80, it's more about just unlocking it so that you can go wherever you want, rather than that.
That's the whole like progression, or at least from my point of view in Guild Wars 2, is that the level is there just to kind of keep you away from certain areas and to help you give you an idea of which zones you should be in, because that's probably where your personal story is. That's probably where the dungeon storyline is at this point in your leveling. And so if you're behind your leveling curve, then it's a bit frustrating. But if you're ahead, then I was ahead of my leveling for personal story and dungeons and zones. And I was happy as a clam just because it meant I could go wherever I wanted, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I hit 80 a week and a half after launch, and
Wow.
I was like, I spent way too much time playing. It was fun though, so I don't mind. And because you can just go back and do content, it doesn't even I've been reading a lot where people say, "Oh, stop and smell the roses." Well, okay, that's fine, but now I can go and smell the roses wherever I want in the game, and so that's kind of nice. But one of the things when I was leveling is I did just outpace my storyline. I think I had the last 20 levels. I was like level 62 storyline when I was 80, and then I just didn't do it for like a week. Finally went back, and I've been working through it slowly. I just finished it 2 days ago, so I got the last story mission done. Although technically, I guess Aura is the last story mission officially.
I'm always letting my story get away from me because I just love doing them so much. I just want to race through them, and my levels haven't caught up yet.
Yeah, there's definitely some fun stories. Although in Orr, I do have to say the thing that I hate most about Orr, Risen Purifiers. You're running along, happily minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this anchor comes flying, grabs you, and you go hurtling back. It seems like halfway across the map sometimes. and then there's this guy beating you, and you're like, "Oh, stupid Risen Purifiers, I hate you so much."
But they love you.
They do. They just want to hug me, and they just want to. And to do that, they need to hit me with an oar, or not even an oar, an anchor, a giant iron anchor. Just
They are pretty annoying.
They're horrible.
The other thing I hate in Orr is when I'm swimming through the water. I think the villagers and the farmers underwater are ridiculous. I'm just swimming along happily, and then suddenly, bang, 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 half my health is gone, and they stun me as well.
And then you get hit, and then like a shark comes up, and he's doing like a third of your health every chomp.
Yes.
So fun times in Orr.
Yeah, Orr can be rough, especially if you're not in like 80 greens. I found that it got easier once I was in 80 rare and 80 exotic gear. It got a lot easier. But definitely once you get there the first time, it can be rough. So, well, I'm glad to hear that we're all moving along, except for poor Tiger Feet.
It's all right. I've been busy.
ArenaNet, fix her account so she can play with us. We miss her.
I miss my warrior. I miss my engineer. This elementalist is nice, but it's just not doing it. It's not doing it for me.
Well, hopefully we'll see you in. Moving right along, I'd like to give a shout out to Guild Wars 2 Riches. They did a guildwars2riches.com. They're a sort of a how to make gold and maintain it in Guild Wars 2 using the trading post and various farming techniques and that sort of thing that are perfectly legal, non-exploiting. They're all about allowing you make gold as opposed to, gold farmers making it for you and then you buying it from them. And they gave us a shout out a few weeks ago on one of their podcasts, so I'd like to return the favor. It's a great site. I go there regularly. So we'll definitely link it in the show notes. And speaking of economy, moving right along, ArenaNet just did an update on their blog a few days ago about the actual economy. And did any of you guys read that?
I skimmed it. I think I looked at it and thought, this is amazing that they've got economists analyzing their in-game economy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in good hands.
What do you think of it, Christian?
Yeah, it was interesting. Much along the lines of some of the previous mentions of the economy, and we had the sort of, as the game came out, I think the wrap up of the economy from the betas, and this is kind of along the same lines.
Yeah,
They even have a lovely little infographic picture at the bottom of the blog.
I thought what was interesting was their discussion. He discussed the exploiters, and that was an interesting discussion just because he based. It's odd that you almost have to line out this is what an exploit is in the game and why it's bad for the game, because apparently a fair number of the exploiters were like, oh, it's not hurting anyone, it's just making me gold, except now it's tanking the economy and all that stuff. So I thought that was interesting. I also thought it was interesting that the resolution to the fact that the trading post was down for what, a week and a half, and
yeah, on and off for a week and a half.
Yeah, it was on and off for a week and a half. Small numbers of people getting in. What happened though, as a result, is people were storing up just insane amounts of materials. And then they changed how cooking materials drop. You're not buying the majority of it from karma vendors anymore. You're actually finding it in the world. And butter there was so much butter. Everything. You're like, I killed a centaur. He has butter in his bag. I killed an elephant. He has butter in the bag.
He's got to oil up his fur to make sure he's got nice shiny flanks
I
for the
killed
lady
a risen
centaurs.
purifier, and he had
And
butter.
he doesn't want the saddlebags on the side to chafe either.
Okay,
So.
all right. So that's why the centaur
Important.
have butter. It's an important thing. So there we go. And the thieves have it because they're probably just eating it on the side. It's what they do.
They butter you
butter's
up
delicious.
before they steal all your goods.
Ah, nice.
Slip your fingers.
So the interesting thing is what they did to clear the market out is they created a Mystic Forge recipe. Have you guys seen those Mystic Forge recipes?
Mm-mm.
Okay, they're really interesting. What they did is you take 500 of a material that is just excessive on the market that's selling for like 1 copper when it should be going for 10 or 15 copper. So you take like 500 sticks of butter, 500 green wood planks, 500 green wood dowels, and there's a few other things that you can add on there. I think iron was one. And you put them in with a ectoplasm and a mystic coin, and it creates a chest. And you open the chest up, and you'll have a chance at getting a permanent elixir. So, for example, I made one just to see what you could get out of it, and I got a elixir that's soulbound that turns me into a spark, and it's a permanent thing. I use it.
Nice.
It doesn't
Like
expire.
the everlasting.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
everlasting
Everlasting
tonic,
tonic.
essentially.
Oh, sweet.
So I got that, and I got
Look into that.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, and they're pretty expensive right now because it did exactly what they were expecting to have happen, and essentially, cat ho.
He's lost his desk privileges when he rolled over on my keyboard.
Oh, no.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, anyways, I opened the chest. I got that tonic, the everlasting tonic, which was pretty cool. And then I also got a gem, a blue gem that was worth 30 silver. And as far as I know, all you can do is sell that to a vendor. It's soulbound, so you can't sell it on the market, and it's not used in any recipes. I checked. I opened up the Mystic
Why don't they
Forge.
just give you
couldn't put it back
cash?
in. I don't know. Maybe it was easier. Maybe they already had the art resource for it. I don't know why
Maybe
they didn't just give you gold.
Make cash in the crafting system.
Well, no, but you get a chest, and you open the chest, and all
true,
these things are in it, and and you can definitely get gold out of the chest. There's a few other things that can drop, which are interesting. There is a chance of getting a whole bunch of different nexus, like tubing and various things, and you can combine all of those together to create a consumable Mystic Forge. And essentially what it does is anywhere in the world, you can open this thing and have access to the Mystic Forge wherever you are. And it's
Cool.
Wonderful. I would love that.
there's a per use one, and I'm not sure if this has been confirmed or not, I think there's an actual unlimited use one that you can get if you get some very rare materials from these chests. So it can be very much so worth it for you, because you could be out adventuring and say, oh, I have too many green items or blue items, I'll just combine them and see if I get something better.
Some of the things that we've got coming out of the Mystic Forge are quite incredible at the moment.
Yeah. Well, for example,
Cool.
getting your we have had some pretty amazing stuff. It's true, like the legendaries and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So,
which
have
we'll
you
be covering later a little bit.
Yeah, I think we will.
One of
Where is it?
one of the things I heard about out of the Mystic Forge that I really want to look into is a 250 use gold salvage kit. Apparently,
Yes.
if you put a blue, green, gold, and a black lion salvage kit in there together, it'll give you a 250 use gold one, which would be
Black
incredibly useful for all the salvaging I'm doing. And I get really annoyed having to buy a new salvage kit because it only has 25 uses.
I should give that a crack because I got a black line
Yeah.
trading.
It's actually not a black
post
light in
thing.
trading.
Oh, okay.
Is it
It's
not?
so you know those mystic gems that you can buy on the gem store? It's like
Yeah.
a mystic
Yep.
shard or something.
Shards,
You
yeah.
take 3 of those, and then the 3 the blue, green, and yellow kits, and those are what combine into the
Okay.
250 use. And because
Ah.
gems are relatively inexpensive right now, it's only maybe 60 silver. It's actually cheaper to get 250 use kit than to buy basically 10 of the silver, 10 of the yellow salvage kits. So you actually save money.
I
Just
remember
on-
reading a long
No,
time
you
ago.
go.
I remember reading a while ago. They said when they were working on their crafting system that they took a lot of inspiration from Minecraft.
Yeah.
And I remember when the crafting system was revealed, there were just the discoveries. I was like, oh, that's neat. But listening to you guys talk about the Mystic Forge, it's making me think Minecraft definitely.
I've heard a lot of people compare the Mystic Forge to end-game crafting. Essentially, all of your other crafting professions, except for maybe cooking, which can be a little bit can be quite obscure at times. All the other crafting professions are very straightforward, but the Mystic Forge, you get it, and it's very varied.
You have it and it's there, and you just throw stuff in and see what happens.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's really neat. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Very much like Minecraft. Here, punch a tree, see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, and the Mystic Forge changes that they made, those new recipes, it shows just how committed they are to actually figuring out and how to do the economy. I know that several people, before they announced this change, were saying they need to find some way to get these items out of the economy. They need an economy dump. Several people were saying things like, in World of Warcraft, there was a point where, I think this was either Guildcast or Tales of Tyria, they were saying that in World of Warcraft they created these reputation turn-ins where you could like pull cloth out of the economy because there was just too much of it. And
I remember those.
And within like 2 days, that is what the arena was like. Oh yeah, that's what we're actually planning on doing because we know about these things. And so that was really interesting to see. It was like 2 days later that was the ArenaNet post, and they had apparently already been thinking about that. So go ArenaNet for having an economist on your team that seems to know what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I was reading a post on, I think it was through Kill 10 Rats, was talking about how the economy's kind of forked because everybody's a gatherer. You don't have to spend one of your profession slots to gather something.
Yeah.
Like you do in most other MMOs.
Yeah. And the convenience of everything, too.
Mm-hmm.
So did you guys take a look at the chart that was on that blog post?
Yeah, I found that chart really interesting in a couple of ways. But first of all, do you know if the male-female pie chart is that characters rolled or genders playing?
I think it's all to do with what you've rolled.
Yeah, it's characters rolled.
Because they can't test your gender from your account.
I don't know about you, but they asked for my blood type, and they did like some genetic tests on me, and they're like, "Oh, you are a male player." Every time I log on to my female elementalist, they're like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Like,
yeah, but anyway, what I found interesting out of that was if they are rolled characters, there's like huge amount of male characters, which I always thought that there would be millions of female characters, but there's a lot of male people or male characters being rolled, I guess, which is different.
That kind of threw me a little bit at first as well.
I'm looking
Just
at this right now.
I'd expected, from what I've seen in Guild Wars and other MMOs, that female characters outnumber males, but I guess not this time.
I'm
you
very
guys-
surprised at the race distribution.
That
Yeah,
is-
that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I figured Sylvari would be far and away the highest, and that Norn or Asura would be the lowest.
I think
Yeah.
Sylvari might have some things. I'm not sure if they're they're just so different-ish.
Well, I figured that they're the elves, they're the planty ones.
Right.
Their area is beautiful. I mean, it might not be my cup of tea, but I can't deny that it isn't beautiful.
Exactly.
But humans far and away, and Char actually
Yeah.
the lowest. I figured they'd be one of the second ones because you'd get all the creepy furry people.
Or the other people who are just like, "Whoa, this is badass."
That's me though. I just want to beat somebody's face in. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
You took
maybe all those-
ferocity on your chart, didn't you?
Maybe.
Ferocity, right?
Going back to the male-female
I'll play it.
distribution, that's an interesting thing that I've noticed with games that have personal story. Though, is people will play the gender that they most associate with, predominantly for those. It tends to be that way. Whereas games like World of Warcraft and the like, where there's not really a character story, that you're not making choices for the character, you can play the hot blood elf whatever warlock that I did for years, and
When you
it
admit
doesn't
to
affect
that,
anything.
Shungaku.
Yeah, I know. I played a male troll shaman first for a long time, and then Burning Crusade came out. So I started with the cool race, and then I was
As the
like, I'm gonna
graphics
make a hammer.
improved,
And
you
then the
went
graphics,
further
I
and
was
further
like,
away.
yeah,
From...
check out those pixels, anyways.
Don't get me started on the druid graphical overhaul. We're talking about Guild Wars.
Yeah, we're talking about Guild Wars.
Yeah.
Coming back in. But I think that may be one of the main reasons why a lot more players are rolling male than female, is because they identify with male gender more.
I'd be curious to see gender broken down by race.
That
as
would
well.
be very interesting,
Yeah.
because I would suspect probably like Char is like probably, well, I don't know.
I see a lot of girl Char.
It's true.
I
There's
feel like I see more female Char than I do male.
it's that fluffy tail. People are like, why do these male Chars?
Fluffy!
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know. My
Yeah.
Sylvari's guy. Whenever I get him back.
I also
Oh.
have a male Sylvari, which is odd because I tend to play entirely female characters. But I have a male Sylvari and a
And-
male human this time. So
Oh yeah, I've got a male human. He's I play him with Sylvia
cool.
when I could play him.
Aw.
I'm gonna
The
be
other-
moping about this the whole episode.
Poor tiger.
The other interesting breakdown is of the professions, because guardians aren't number one.
I was amazed at how even it was actually.
Yeah.
When
Well,
seemed.
until you see the mesmer.
Well, that's because
Mesmer.
nobody likes them.
An
They're
extra
tricksy
answer.
and false.
I'm
Well,
male
they're
human.
so cool.
Said the thief.
I think the issue is that mesmers are not good for people just starting out.
They're
Raven-
complicated. So
yeah.
are the engineers too.
I've
Well,
mentioned. Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah. Well, the impression you often get, I suppose, as a new player, if you're starting with mesmer, is that boy, this is tough in single player PVE.
Yeah.
PvP, they are the bomb, and when you get your traits rolling, they start becoming pretty strong in PvE as well.
A friend of mine rolled a mesmer initially, and he was having a terrible time with it. And then he went and rolled a necromancer, because those were his two classic Guild Wars classes. And he played the necromancer, and he's like, "Oh, this is like easy mode." And then he went back to the mesmer and said, "Oh, that's how you do X, Y, Z," because there's a lot of channeled abilities on the mesmer, aren't there?
Not sure what you're referring to.
You might have been using like the scepter.
You
I think
have
the
to hold
scepter-
down the button to make it do stuff.
Well,
I
yeah.
know that. I'm just trying to think. There aren't any of those, but there are a lot of twice activation skills with a mesmer
Oh.
where you have that kind of trade-off. Do I activate it again for an end effect, or leave it there to do what it's currently doing?
Okay.
There are quite a few blocks which do that, where you can reactivate them, stop blocking, and say blind or stealth or something, I think.
Hmm.
And then all the mantras are like that. You have to cast them first on the utility skills, and then you can trigger them. So there's well, I haven't played all the professions in depth, but the Mesmer, I like the feel carrying on from what the Mesmer was like in Guild Wars, where you have to, well, you think about what, it's the case with all the professions, right? But you think about what you're doing in advance for the most part, and kind of need to prepare a little as you take on each foe. That's how I feel with the Mesmer. Like, you have to get your illusions up or your clones up if that's how you're going to use them, and then you can sort of weigh into the enemy. Whereas the Guardian just sort of run in and throw your keyboard down the stairs.
Or you have a Necromancer and you're like, I have 6 minions. Go do that for a while. I'll sit back here, eat some stuff, and hang out.
Now that I'm 80, I sometimes do that with my illusions. I'll pop an illusion and a clone on an enemy and just carry on running, and 30 seconds later they have kind of killed it for the most part, if it's reasonably squishy.
Yeah. And then you get away and you don't have to worry about the purifiers going, oh, nope, you're coming back here.
But then I missed the red that just dropped from that mob. Sad face.
What do you primarily play, Eric?
I play Eric. Yeah, my name's Eric, by the way. Hi,
Sorry.
everybody. No, that's okay. I play Necro. I love Necro. The only problem is minions right now will... I think ArenaNet bought them like popcorn and said, your job is not to actually kill things. It's to sit back, watch the Necromancer kill things, eat popcorn, offer some commentary. My Doom Chicken, which is the flesh golem, love that thing because you charge in. We'll spend half his time just sort of sitting there, and I'm like fighting for my life, and he's just like, what's going on? Stand in one spot. It's cool. You're just circling around me. The enemy's chasing me. I've had to actually run through him so that the enemy stops at him, and then he'll start hitting it.
Oh no!
So that's a little. The pet AI is a little bit broken on Necros. Fortunately, my bone minions tend to always charge in. Although, and then there's the issue of the Doom Chicken running off. I'll be running along, and there's no enemies near me, and I'll turn and look, and like a ridge away, like there's a huge distance, I'll see an enemy, and I'll say, oh, hey, I could kill that if I wanted to. I haven't targeted him, haven't done anything. I've just thought to myself while looking at the computer, I could kill that. I'm not going to is the next thought, but apparently all my flesh golem hears is, I could kill that, because he's all of a sudden booking, and I'm like, what are you... Why? How did that aggro you at all? And so I go running in the other direction, and much like your minions, because he's a flesh golem, he's pretty tough, the thing will die usually, and then he'll come like, ba-doop, ba-doop, and half his health is gone, and he's like, I killed it! I feel like he's carrying something in his mouth usually, like a cat coming back, and he's like, look at me, I'm so good! I'm like, thanks, now can you go loot it for me, because it's halfway across the map? So... Love the Necro. There are some hilarious bugs with the pet AI right now, which you learn to live with. He's totally the pet is definitely worth it to have though, because he's always there. Elite that's always on is wonderful. Huge fan. Speaking of weird things from ArenaNet and pet AI, so they released
a segue.
Yes. Yeah, I'm getting better at segues. Now we've ruined it by mentioning that it's a segue.
That's what we do here.
That's what we do. We call out the quality segues. Yep. Oh. So ArenaNet released something amazing, something that I'm not entirely certain what it is. According to the title, it's a launch trailer. Tiger, what did you think?
I saw it linked on Twitter, and I watched it as soon as I got out of work, pulled up my phone, and I clicked on their link, and I'm getting this, and I can barely see it because it's late afternoon, the sun's in my face, it's on my phone, so it's dark, and I'm like, what? At first I thought they linked the wrong video. I was like, what is this? and then she turned into a Nor, and I'm like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, when I first queued up the video, I thought, wait, is this an ad? Before I then get the trailer? And then I looked at the progress bar on the bottom and was, no, it's not. This is actually the trailer. Okay, interesting. And then I was thinking, well, I suppose so. This looks, because it's live action, I was like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be a TV spot. So they're targeting people that have never heard about Guild Wars 2 before and are trying to pull them in. And then I thought, this really isn't the ad for those people, because they won't know that Guild Wars 2 is trying to be, why Guild Wars 2 is trying to be revolutionary in the MMO market. And so all these sort of allusions to revolution and running around on the street in hoodies with graffiti as a metaphor for what Guild Wars 2 is doing in the MMO community means nothing to someone who's never heard about it before. So for that kind of trailer, you really just want awesome, 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 play it now!
Yeah.
They need Chuck Norris as a panda.
Yeah. Chuck Norris is a panda. Here's a dragon. Go kill it.
They are going to
get
have that for World of Warcraft. I apologize. I'm just, Chuck. They're doing Chuck Norris as a panda. I'm kind of looking forward to that commercial. Oh, Spirit, what do you think?
I agree with the sentiment that the graffiti thing was really weird. It was kind of like, I don't know, it was almost political. There was a huge debate on Twitter about what it meant about, are they alluding to this or alluding to that? What does rise up mean? We don't really get it. But the last, from the room where she was in the water to the end, I thought was quite good, especially when she got out of the water and the tattoos began forming.
That was
interesting,
really neat.
visually impressive, and quite good. It puts yourself in the character's shoes. But the first part, just what? Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting.
What does it mean?
I was super excited for it when they first started teasing it, and then Hunter did his analysis, and he's like, "Check this out. This is probably like an undead that we're seeing the eye of, and then you've got like Aristic Galkin underwater, so maybe we'll see Bubbles in this thing, and Bubbles being the 5th Elder Dragon that has no name." And
Hunter has
like,
been amazing
oh my
with
goodness.
breaking down videos.
He has. He's great, and taking 2 pictures and writing an amazing article about them. And so I was super excited. And then they come on. I was on Mumble, and someone one of the guild members came on, and he said, "Hey, they just released that trailer." I'm like, "Awesome!" He's like, "Wait, stop. It's not what you're expecting."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's a little bit not what you're expecting." And I'm like, "But it's got like air and undead. This is going to be amazing." He's like, "It's not air." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And then one of the other guys in Mumble was playing it, or had started playing it already. And he's going, "Wait, what? I don't..." So then I go and play it, and my response was, I don't what? Okay. And I made it through probably the first 10 seconds of it before I just started clicking through until I finally got to gameplay. And then I saw a shadow of Big Z, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm out. I don't want spoilers."
I like that, Big
Big
Z.
Z. Yeah. Bubbles, Big Z. It's going to be a rap group, actually. It's a rap group called Elder Dragons. Or Elda Dragons. Get rid of the R.
DJ Jormag?
Yeah, with DJ Jormag, Bubbles, and Big Z.
What about Crystal Perps?
Crystal Perps in the background playing.
Crystal Perps. Love it. Love it.
Poor Fine Mortis is left out.
So if anyone feels like drawing some fan art and sending it to Tapestries of Orr, feel free to do that, please.
I thought that was going to be Tiger's next project, and you just made everyone else go and do it.
You know what? If I get like 30 different people doing that, and I can pick and choose then, and then put them.
You
on
have no idea how
every
busy
week.
I am. Like the rest of this month is completely. I don't know. I'm gonna be a mess.
Well, at least you don't have Guild Wars 2 getting in your way.
Sad but true.
Because that game's still in development.
Well, she can get onto it because she's got like a level 12 or something that may or may not exist in a few months.
She's 18. Yeah. May or may not. Just delete that account and let me have my first one back and give me the.
Oh.
What's next?
Speaking of development.
Yeah, speaking of development and developing art and various other things, ArenaNet's actually talked about some of the... That's an amazing segue, Christian. Excellent
know.
work. Everyone just take a moment. Let's give him a hand. That's
You'd think
amazing.
he's done this before.
He's masterful. Oh. So yeah, they posted on the forums, which I'm really glad that they've got their forums up and running. It's a great place.
Do
for
they? I didn't
information.
know that.
Oh yeah, no, it's wonderful.
Now, continue talking. I'm going to the forums.
Yes, the forums are there, they're up, they're live, and they've been active, and they've been saying things, and they've been replying to people, and putting some very interesting stuff on. One of which was, one person was saying, I'd love to pay for, like, new zones and stuff, and new content, like new events and things like that. I guess technically they didn't say zones, because... But anyways, they've Colin Johansson, I believe, replied, and he said, we want to release free content. So, what do you guys think they're probably referring to there? Christian, you think?
I don't know. I don't have much experience with the kind of content that MMOs release post release once they're out, launch, stuff like that. Because my main fallback is how they did it in Guild Wars 1, which is probably a good example to look at because it's likely a model that they might use for Guild Wars 2. So free content, I'm not sure, but he talks about in-game events. So I think stuff that they might be looking at is updating, altering, reworking dynamic events in zones so that zones remain fresh, I guess. Despite the number of events that many zones have, as the game gets older, they're going to get tired and people, won't be doing them because they're not interested in certain ones. They might just focus on the ones that quickly loop rounds so they can get the reward and be done. So Matt, I think that's definitely a candidate for free content update. Whereas zones and races and Cantha and Nightfall, that's the for me that's the stuff that would come in paid expansion.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I know from my experience in World of Warcraft, they'd release the game and then they'd come out with dungeons, basically raid content which would be dungeons, and that's pretty much it. They'd release the game and then they'd start putting out your dungeons to finish that expansion, and then they'd come out with another expansion.
Yeah.
We already have so the dungeons wouldn't be there at release, they'd then just add them in? Is that what you're saying, Tiger?
You'd have an initial subset.
Yeah.
I think.
Because they're pretty well set up in terms of dungeons at the moment, and the explorable missions and the ridiculous difficulty of some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them can get rough.
And by comparison, the ease of certain others.
What do you think about his about Colin Johansson's statement that free content is what a responsible MMO company does? Spirit, what do you think of that?
I can't speak too much to that because I haven't played outside of Guild Wars. I've played a little bit of Champs Online. That's about my only MMO thing. I don't know. I think it's part of what an MMO company does, but not necessarily a responsible MMO company. If they want to put out good updates and make people pay for them, I don't see it. But I guess that gets into what keeps the game fresh, and then expansions, which are different. I'm not sure how to differentiate them, but expansions to me, like, say we're going to put out Cantha as a new continent, all new zones, new mechanics, maybe a new race, whatever. That's an expansion. But I don't know, I could see paying for content like dungeons, but if they want to give them to me, yes, please. I don't want to pay for them, but I probably would anyway.
Honestly, I am very surprised that they're even talking about giving us new content for free because we don't have to pay a subscription fee.
Yeah.
A lot of people in WoW would defend it by saying, well, you're paying a subscription to keep the servers up, and you're paying because they're continuing to develop the game. You get free updates all through the life of the expansion until the next one comes out. And to see that, like, I wouldn't be unhappy if ArenaNet released dungeons and asked us to pay for them, like in their in the gem store or whatever. But they're not, and that's just amazing.
Yeah.
I have to say amazed again by the integrity that ArenaNet shows for their pricing models. It's a wonderful thing to see, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I continue to support this company. By buying the game and using the gem store, and I mean, all the problems with my account aside, it's what they're doing is wonderful. I want them to do more of it.
It runs very closely with a lot of the things that Mike O'Brien has said over the years about how he sees an MMO as a service as opposed to a product. And so for the ArenaNet mindset, it's not just make the product, release it, be done. And MMOs are not like that in general, but some companies treat them like that. Like once it's out, it's done. We've got the sub fee, or we've got it's free to play. We've got the cash store. It'll run itself. We'll make money off it. For ArenaNet, it's really their ideal for what they would like to do is to have this as a service where luckily we don't pay a subscription fee, but when we see content that we want to support them for, we can spend money on it, or we can buy things to ease our for convenience and cosmetics from a gem store. And that's the way to support them. It's really interesting how that kind of sits between the free-to-play and the pay-to-play models quite well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Rift is kind of the main example that I think a lot of people have for like a subscription fee game that actually gives you free content updates more than once every year, which World of Warcraft tends to be pretty rare.
Not necessarily. Well, it is free, but you're paying the sub fee.
Right.
So, everyone always talks about how Rift has such consistent updates and new content in the game, which is, I think, a big part of why they are retaining their players on a sub fee, because other games aren't and are moving free to play.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so it'll be interesting to see if Guild Wars 2 can get to that, if they're going to be at like Rift level of production. Like, will they be releasing a new thing every month, or are we going to be looking at more like the World of Warcraft method where you get large chunks of raids and dungeons and zones as your content updates? It'll be interesting to see if that works. Although, who knows if we'll even get zones as updates. That will probably be mostly paid expansions, I would suspect.
I would honestly expect to see somewhere in the middle, because Guild Wars 2, their customer support's pretty good, but they do have a very high bar to their quality, so I know they'll take the time to do it right before they release it.
Yeah. Which their quality is really good. The game is quite polished, but there are definitely some niggling things that have come up over the past few weeks as we've gotten into the game and seen various other things. I know, Squirrel, you've got a list of things that you would like to discuss and talk about the various niggling things that you found in a new section called Sea Squirrel Rant.
Yeah, so between episodes, I started getting a little frustrated at little things here and there, and I was like, I really want to get this off my chest somehow. And I don't have a blog, and I don't have a YouTube channel. So I thought maybe we could do it on the show. And now that I look at the list again, some of the things aren't as big a deal anymore, but I just, it's like, pisses me off. This pisses me off. And this, and this, and this. So if we start off, what was annoying, this was like in the dungeons a lot. So when an enemy puts an AoE, it's got that red circle around the edge, and that's really important because if you're inside it, it's going to hurt. If you're outside it, it should be cool. Sometimes these circles don't show up, and other times they don't show the range properly. So I know definitely once or twice in Catacombs, the champion troll who bashes away out of the wall pops out, and he's got the stomp, and the AoE range on that circle is larger than the circle that's indicated. So if you stand just outside that circle, you think, I'm safe, I don't need to dodge roll, which is what I would do if I was in the circle. And yet he downs you because you're already, say, at 75% health. which really annoyed me because it teaches you one thing, but then you can't actually implement that because it's a little bit off.
And I've noticed with necromancers, there's an upgrade for your marks that improves the size of your marks, but when the marks actually show up the right size on it, but when you're going to plant them, the circle indicator is not the right size. So I can't, if I wanted to place them cleverly, I've actually started placing them in between two mobs where the green swirly circle is actually not touching either of the enemies, and it will still hit both of them. And I'm like, it would be really nice for me to be able to, see an actual size circle. And now that's after I traded a increase in the mark size. So maybe they had issues with, with a trait that you can just throw in and out of combat. Maybe they had issues with that circles shifting or someone crashing the game because they were trying to plant a circle while changing the size of the mark while they were out of combat. And they're like, let's see if that breaks the game. And then they were given like 10,000 gold or something. And
what it may have to do with, and this is another one of my points, is the range of skills being tied with the UI. Because one of the other points is that, so along the bottom of your skill bar, if you have ranged skills, it'll show up if you're in range or not, because there'll be a red bar just under the number if you're out of range. And these aren't quite accurate either. So the Guardian leap on the great, or many leaps actually, even if you're just on the edge of being in range, so the red bar's just disappeared and you hit your leap skill, you won't quite reach the target and you'll miss, as in you'll get the miss notification. The reverse is also true for one of the mesmer skills on the sword. I stand just slightly out of range of my target and I still hit them with a number of repeated slashes. So if there's a little bit of a break in terms of measuring the range in the world versus that translating to whatever UI indications you have, then maybe your range increase on your traits doesn't tie to the circle you for placing it, doesn't recognize that.
Yeah. So there could be a UI or a UI that's not tied in fully correctly.
And so another thing which was really pissing me off a lot, just running through zones or in jumping puzzles or trying to climb up to points of interest and that kind of thing, is getting out of combat. Most of the time getting out of combat isn't a trouble, but sometimes I think because of verticality and you being able to jump to places that mobs can't get to, losing the aggro of that mob, even though he hasn't attacked you in 5 seconds, just doesn't happen.
Because they're still sitting there at the bottom of the rock going, gonna get you,
or
jump down.
Or they're not even looking up at you, they're just sort of wandering around, but somehow the game has still decided that you're still in combat with that mob, even though you haven't attacked it at all, say, and they haven't managed to attack you, and you're now, 10 meters apart, and he's just ignoring you. It's still stuck in combat, which can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's usually at the time when you don't want it to happen.
Like when you're in the middle of a jumping puzzle and you don't need that extra in-combat slowdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the lack of distance on your jump, because if you miss the next jump, you're going to die horribly and have to waypoint run all the way back. And
Yep. Start all over again.
Something that's annoyed me for the longest of time, even in the beta, is so I use right-click to swing the camera around and direct my character as they're running, because I use auto-run a lot, which means I'm pretty much right-clicking all the time, in combat, out of combat. And what really annoys me is that I can't unbind that right-click is used for selection and interaction as well. So I will often accidentally select an ally or a different enemy and start attacking them while I'm trying to fight whatever enemy I'm facing. And what annoys me more about that is that left click already does the selection, so why do we need something else on right click?
Is that what's been happening?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. That would
explain
why my minions go running off in the middle of nowhere, possibly.
Oh.
Yeah. left click to select just selects the target. Right click will also interact with the target. So if you or double left click does that too. So just talking about NPCs, if you want to interact with a merchant, you can walk up to them and double left click, and then you don't have to press F.
Yeah.
Or you can walk to them and right click, and that will do the same.
That would explain
And
why my minion's been running off in the middle of nowhere then. That makes sense. Now I
And-
know.
That's the one thing, like, all the keys are rebindable, but not the mouse. And that's just, frustrates me, because it screws with, it makes things more difficult for me. And the way to solve it, I guess, would be to get used to it, get better, but,
Yeah, L2P noob, uninstall.
pretty much. And, I mean, in a lot of cases, it doesn't matter if you haven't got the target selected, because your character will still keep attacking that target. But say we're fighting a big boss, and I really need to interrupt a certain attack from him, otherwise the whole party wipes. And I have the stuns, or I have the the projectile reversal, and I accidentally hit a trash mob. I see him channel, and I stun the trash mob, and then it's like, great, thanks.
Ooh, yeah,
that's
that
where
would be
that
rough.
really pisses me off.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? We're about halfway through. So this isn't like, I don't want to make this like a QQ thing, but
Can I QQ one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
for it.
Okay. I really, 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 please give me a button that stops my auto attack. I don't want, if I see
Yes.
something blocking and I don't want to attack it, I oftentimes can't stop attacking it. And I think there is a couple
Does
options
escape
you
work?
I think escape does work, but it's kind of far away, and I would like to be able to rewind it if you do. And I have stow or draw weapons bound, which also is supposed to work, but it's not always responsive enough to stop me. So, like, especially if you've got confusion stacked on you and you're going to damage yourself by attacking, you need to be able to stop when it's stacked, because you're really going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Or if, like, I
They're
can't think
doing-
of a whole bunch of mobs that do it, but I know the ghosts in Plains of Ashford have a fiery block where they put down their shield, and you see it, you go to hit it, you know you're going to get lit on fire, and you know it's going to hurt, but you can't stop anyway. Drives me absolutely insane, and I've burned to death a couple times because I accidentally stacked the duration by using a flurry and couldn't stop it.
Didn't you also accidentally burn to death by drinking too much hot sauce?
Yeah.
I mean, that one was pretty obvious. You
That was a little bit
didn't have to keep
cool.
drinking.
it's kind of
it was
awesome. Where's
delicious.
that?
How
It's
did
in
this happen?
Plains of Ashford, right outside. I forget what waypoint it
There's
is.
there's an event where there's a guy having a barbecue and people pop up and try and steal his barbecue. And he's like, "No, defend my BBQ, yo!" And so you do. And then he sets down his big pot of hot sauce, and you taste it. And it gives you a buff. It says, "You have survived so-and-so's famous hot sauce." And if you taste it again while you've got that buff on, it knocks you back and lights you on fire. Unless you spam F like Spirit did, and then you die.
It just tosses you up in the air continuously, and you keep going like this, but it stacks the burning duration every time.
That's amazing.
Tiger, can you wait around to res me when I eventually burn to death?
It's one of my
that's good.
favorite events, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you
Second
go and
only
find
to
Spirit
Dark
every
House.
time it happens? You're like, hey, you want to burn to death again?
We did it 2 or 3 times the other day.
Well, we were
no.
waiting for the little cubs to go hunt for ghosts.
Oh, that
because
is an
one's supposed to be
amazing
cute.
event. That one is
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
Any of the ones where
love
you're
Plains of
escorting like
Ashford.
the little kids,
Mm-hmm.
because they have amazing dialogue. Some of the best dialogue in the game, I think.
You've got your yak butter in my dull yak jerky.
Okay.
I missed
No,
that
you
part.
got your dull yak jerky in my yak butter.
Okay.
Oh,
This
is
is
that
the
what the
Charcoal
Char are
event.
saying?
Yeah,
Is that
they
what
have a
the
camp
best-
out, and then
Yeah.
they argue in the middle of the night. We were
And then
sitting
one of
there
them
just laughing about it.
Decides to show the others his scab.
That
I think
was
I
a
remember
very
that one too.
awkward statement. I was like, okay.
hey guys, check out my scab.
Pretty much just like that. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, that. Yeah, I was like, wait, what? I was running around with a big group, and all of a sudden that comes out. I'm like,
Yeah,
running by on my necro, going,
that's
okay,
in
that
one of the videos Ryan
makes sense.
posted, I think. The bit where we all go, what did he just say? So if you want to see that, go watch all the YouTube videos.
All of them
man.
at
All
once.
of them. Like them and subscribe and comment and rate.
It'll
and
really help us out somehow.
yeah.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is good job, writers.
Oh, yeah, those
It's
are good.
awesome. NPC banter, amazing.
Oh man. Okay, well, I think that's enough QQ for today. We could probably save some of the rest of your epic 4-page list of why I hate Guild Wars 2. It's not that long. It's actually only like,
Yeah,
I think we're maybe 2/3 of the way through. So
I'm sure
That-
Squirrel could make it that long if he tried.
I'm
Really
sure you start
I'm-
nitpicking.
I'm definitely over the annoyance. I'm just
Yeah.
I got over it. Moved on.
Nice. Oh, and now that you've moved on past the annoyance and past level 80 and have now started exploring Orr, which I don't know if you want to mute your just earmuffs, Tiger
No,
Feet, earmuffs.
We'll do spoiler
No
free.
spoilers, please.
We'll do a spoiler-free discussion on Orr. The interesting thing is no hearts. What do you guys think about that, Christian?
So that I was not aware of that when I got into Straits of Devastation.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize that that's what that there were 3 zones that people referred to as Orr. For some reason in my mind, despite the fact that those zones were all on the island labeled Orr, that didn't mean Orr to me. Orr was the final zone in Zone 80. But
Which isn't even it doesn't even have
mind.
Orr in its name. It's just Cursed Shore. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
okay.
no, it does. Sure.
Oh, but it's only one R. It's missing. It's not shore.
The Shorians.
Now, if you're
So-
talking to a pirate, then it is shore.
Yeah. So the no hearts thing. That was really interesting. That it then just switches to dynamic events, which I think so. It's great because it means that there can be more dynamic events because somehow it feels like some of the hearts in other zones take up a bit of space where they could have dynamic events, even though dynamic events often run through those areas anyway. Also, it means that you can play and play and play in that zone forever and ever, and you're never really done. And I know psychologically for a lot of people, you see the hearts and you're like, oh, I still need to do that one. I still need to do that one. Oh, I've done them all now. Cool. I can move on to the next zone. Whereas the zones in Orr, because the events are cyclical, a lot of them are cyclical. You're running around the zone, and there's always something new, something popping up endlessly, and you don't have that. Oh, I need to just finish that one last heart, and then I can move on to the next zone. So that's the cool part about no hearts, I think, for me.
Yeah. For me, it's less busy work. I tend to skip hearts when I can. I know because I'm going to end up going for 100% map completion. I'm going to regret that soon. But it's just busy work. I'll be going around doing a map and I'll see a point of interest and I'll be like, oh, I'll grab that on my way to the next heart. Where in Orr, it's, there's a point of interest. I wonder what's over there. And on the way to the point of interest, there's going to be an event. And I'm like, oh, yes, I would like to kill the giant undead statue. That sounds like fun. And the statue climbs up and starts beating people. And it's more exploratory. It's more the way I think it was intended to be originally without the hearts. And just all about you being in the world, doing what you want to do, and not sitting there doing busy work.
Is it almost like the areas before have been a preview for Orr?
You know,
this
yes.
is
kind
all
of.
for you people who are used to quests and need someone to tell you what to do and where to go. Now that you've gotten used to the way things work here in Guild Wars 2, here, have the final zones.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
exactly like that. It starts out, the starter zones are very heart driven. There are very few events, which was actually a problem in the beginning because you weren't getting experience from the events because as soon as they popped, they'd be done because there were people there.
Right.
But as you transition like the 50 to 60 zones are few hearts, largely event driven, and then eventually it gets to completely event driven, which makes me wonder, like if they do future content, if they'll phase out hearts because they expect you
Oh,
to
I
have
hope
done all
so.
this stuff, and then it's just events. I hope so too. I would love to see more zones that are just event driven.
Yeah.
But
Well, and the cool thing is, when I first got to Orr and was exploring around I was like level 76, week 1 and 2 days or something. And yeah, that's right. I leveled really fast.
Yeah, brag some more, dude.
Yeah. I'm not in exile. What? I'm a terrible person.
I hate you. Don't make me come through this camera, sir.
She will. It's terrifying. It's like the ring. Anyways,
She has a flaming fiery dragon sword.
she's got a
so-
sword.
oh,
It's more like a dagger, but
More like a
seriously.
swung it,
dagger.
and then she swung it
Oh,
again.
And then she
Well, the
swung
closer-
it again. Oh man, Colin Johansson is crying.
Actually, that poster I showed you guys, people were taking him around and signing it. Every time, right here is where Colin Johansson would sign it. And he'd
On
say
the
something like,
sword.
I swung this. Something like that.
I
Nice.
approve.
That's what he did.
You were
Yeah.
saying, Sungaku,
Oh,
about...
so back
Sorry.
on Orr. That's okay. Bunny trails, we love them. So Orr was, I got there and I started exploring it, and one of the first things that I actually ran into was the Vizier's Tower, and it's a jumping puzzle thing, and it was very cool because you get up it and there's a bunch of stuff up there, and then there was an event on the way there, and all of a sudden I was like, this is what I wanted Guild Wars 2 to be. I wanted it to be no hearts and doing these quest things and circling zones to get all the hearts. I wanted it to be, here, go do this interesting thing. And it felt almost like, I compared it to Portal, where you play through Portal and you're given all these things to do, and they just keep building on one another until, or any good tutorial almost. That's one reason why I think a lot of people have been saying Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a very good tutorial. And the reason is because your entire game playing all the way up until Orr is the tutorial for Guild Wars 2. And that is why why all of their tutorial windows and stuff are just so throwaway. It's because up until that point, they're teaching you how to play the game. Now you've got your last 3 zones, you know how to play the game. Go do it. And hopefully they continue with that.
I've found myself when playing games dreading the tutorial. Like I hate playing it. It's boring. It's just an info dump more often than not. And I find myself really preferring games that manage to work the tutorial in with the regular gameplay. Like Portal. Portal was a sterling example of this. I
It's
mean, you're just
probably one
playing
of the
through the
best.
game. And by the time you're done with the tutorial. They've taught you everything you need to know. Now beat the final boss.
There's an
Kinda thing.
amazing video about tutorials taking Mega Man 2, and they basically analyzed Mega Man 2 and how its tutorial was the best tutorial out there, or how it's the way you should design tutorials. And Portal sort of goes the same way, as it's like, well, we introduce these things, but they're so intuitive because we've already built a consistent world, and then you expand out from there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's very similar to the way they did it in Guild Wars. In Prophecies, the majority of the leveling up to level 20 was the tutorial, so to speak. I know there was pre-searing, which was kind of the focused tutorial, but then it's not until you get to the Crystal Desert and then the Southern Shiver Peaks, when you're around that level 20 area, that you then have all your attribute points. You've got a bunch of skills, and then you go to the Ring of Fire and you go take on the Lich. So similarities there. And yeah, Guild Wars 2, I like that analogy to it being the tutorial. Welcome to Guild Wars 2. We have a 100-hour tutorial. Good luck. Have fun. We'll see you in Orr.
We have a tutorial that's fun to play.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's also
Not going to overwhelm you.
Exactly. And it also reminds me that Orr, when I was there, reminded me in a way of what the Underworld and Fish of Woe from Guild Wars, the 2 elite zones, would be like if they became fully persistent and massively multiplayer. which is kind of maybe a bit of a stretch, but in the underworld you've got I think was it 8 quests that you had to complete before you then opened up Doom, who was the final boss in the underworld.
Yeah.
And a lot of these event chains are very similar. You've got step event chains till you unlock a big champion at the end, and the massive sort of the cool reward at the end with karma armor and all that kind of stuff. So I really like that.
The test to that theory will be in a year or two's time. Will the pigs be doing those events without any armor on? That's what we did. We did we did Whammo Foe and we did Booty Foe and
You did Foe
stuff like that.
without any armor on?
Yes,
Was
I
it-
did.
Hard mode
Yep.
Foe or normal mode?
I didn't realize it had hard modes. Did
As in-
I think it was normal mode. But
I was gonna
Okay.
say, oh
Hard
my
mode
goodness,
Foe
we
has
did it normal
normal
mode,
cleared
but
hard mode?
we had no cons though. No con sets or anything like that. No
Okay,
armor.
so it was probably normal mode.
yeah.
That would be, you guys would be, I'd be like, I'm transferring over to your guys' server and PIG and hanging out with you. Oh wow, I'm the only guy on Emery Bay on this one. I miss you all so much.
Sorry, Hamstorm Nation
It's
is
okay.
the best.
Once they get the cross server stuff, then I'll be able to come and run.
Definitely.
Well, actually, I
Yeah.
can run dungeons with you all anyway.
Exactly. That's the
Yeah,
really
it
cool
works
thing
great.
at the moment is that
Yeah.
servers don't matter when it comes to doing dungeons, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, you just
Say
group up
what?
and yeah, you just group up with anyone from different servers and you hop into a dungeon and suddenly you're all magically there together.
Yeah. It's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, that's wonderful. I
I
didn't
know.
know that.
Yeah, I gotta run the most awkward
That's
dungeon ever
amazing.
with Christian and Spirit here. Twilight Arbor. So awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a discussion for a future day, I think, because it's a little bit spoilerish at the point. But I would
Yes,
like
it's
to talk
very-
about how
We
weird
do
that
need to. That one was unusual.
You can talk about
Oh.
that when I'm not here.
Yeah, the way that they made that story was
Right, now-
interesting to say. Yeah. Speaking of making things, yes, now that was a transition. How many of you guys have messed with how is your crafting going? I know we talked about it last time.
A little bit.
I finally hit
Yeah.
400 in tailoring and cooking.
Nice.
That's-
I'm working on my
Getting
needle
there.
point work now.
Getting there. I am doing weaponsmithing at the moment and I think I got to 376 last night.
Nice.
Which means I'm in the tail end where
That's gonna be
between
rough.
350 to 400, you've got nothing new to do, in
Yeah.
a way.
Mhm.
Yeah, unless you find some orcalium.
No, but you can only use that
Oh,
from
that's right,
400,
400.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right, because it's exotic rares and exotics at 400.
Yep.
At 80. Wow.
So
Good luck.
it's been cool. I think, I mean, what I find, and I think maybe a lot of other people, is that with the progression for the crafting, you really can't do anything with the stuff that you make unless you have personal use for it.
Yeah.
So you either have to salvage it, merchant it, or if you get lucky, then someone might pick it up for just above merchant price on the auction house.
Yeah, which is
Which
generally
is frustrating because you sink so many materials and expensive inscription items into these weapons, and all you're doing is getting experience out of it.
Yeah.
To get to level 400, where you can finally make your level 80 weapons, which are really good, and then potentially get lucky and get something that you can sell for some profit.
yeah.
Mhm.
Cross
But
your
then,
fingers.
yeah.
Although there's not a lot of profit to be made in crafting right now. It's where the profit is, I think, is if you get lucky on salvaging rares for Ecto, and like buying
Yeah.
up a rare for 20 silver on the auction house and salvaging it, and then getting like 2 or 3 Ecto. Of course, you also have the. I've burned a lot of money experimenting with this. It's not profitable in the long run. Like, you can't do this for an hour. If you salvage a rare and it gives you 3 Ectos, be like, I'm done. I'm out. That's 3 times the profit off this rare. I'm gonna come back in a day or two when I've got more money, because I've burned so much gold doing that to see what it's like. It's not profitable.
You gotta
So-
know when to hold them. Know
Yes,
when to
I'm very
fold them.
bad at that, which is why I have to read things like Guild Wars 2 Riches, because I'm
Yeah.
not good at holding. Oh. But the Mystic Forge, I think, is going to be where most of your money potential is, even though that can be rough as well. But the legendaries, I think, are where crafting mats for legendaries is where you're going to be making your 100,000 gold, whatever, over the next year or so.
I clicked the link you gave us in the show notes, and there's a bow with a unicorn on it. It's kind of the silliest thing I think
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
not really
It shoots rainbows.
Yeah.
It
What?
shoots rainbows. I'm not even joking.
I want 10.
See,
I'll see you in 10 years, Tiger. 'cause that's
Yeah.
how it'll play.
but speaking of Guru and the link, basically what we've got in the show notes is a link to the Guru post that details the items. And is it just me, or does ArenaNet really like rainbows? Just
Well, they are the Rainbow
Rainbow
Factory.
Factory.
I thought that was their unicorn. It like runs across the land, releasing rainbows from its rear end.
They have a factory in which unicorns produce rainbows and then shoot them across the sky to all the adoring fans.
I see. To be honest, not necessarily that huge. I mean, the My Little Pony longbow. I'm just like, could we make? Are you gonna make another one? Maybe that meets. Maybe. Yeah. I guess I just don't need a legendary longbow. Is what it boils down to, because they have some very cool looking longbows, anyways.
Yeah,
Kudzu one looks amazing.
yeah. There's some of them like I feel could be a little bit less.
Weird.
I don't want to say
Floral?
gender oriented, but they're like, especially with
Floral?
the bows. Yeah, floral. Let's go floral. They're very
Effeminate.
not. Yeah, effeminate, wimpy. Let's go with wimpy. They're not spikes and bones and
Yeah.
testosterone stuff. They're
I think they should make my bee gun. I'm just saying.
yes, I would.
That would be
I
Pistol
would.
that shoots bees. I mean, that thing was amazing.
The pistol is actually pretty cool, I thought. So, I mean, they definitely have stuff to apply based on what your tastes are. So that's
Mhm.
good.
Mm.
Actually, I need to look at the pistol again just to verify that it is actually cool.
So
Hunter said it looked like a high.
it does look kind
Hunter
of
was
weird.
greatly disappointed with the pistol.
What is that? Is that no? It's a scepter. It's an orrery on a scepter. That's
Yes, I love that.
Interesting.
I think that the Astrolabe
does it
type
move?
system,
Is it all animated as
apparently,
well?
yeah, it's like full on animated. Like
Wow.
it is the Tyrian space, like their
Yeah. There's
Tyria
like
and a
clouds
bunch
on
and
it.
that it looks. I like it. I mean, so I think a lot of the items are a matter of taste.
And
Mhm.
then
Bit Frost. I
they-
see what you did there.
it
Sorry,
would
I'm just
seem-
going through the list.
Yeah.
Ignore me.
A lot of them have or appear to have cool animations. So the unicorn short bow shoots rainbows. The staff, I think, looks like it might have a swirling rainbow around it.
Yeah.
The trident, I think the spear has 3 crate heads which sort of interweave, and apparently they move as you attack as well. So that
Wow.
sounds quite cool, and that's one of the ones that I think looks kind of interesting, which is why I think it's a shame that it's an underwater weapon, because
Yeah.
let's be honest, although underwater is done pretty well, don't really spend that much time down there.
Yeah. You go in, do whatever it is, and then you're like, okay, I'm out, back on dry land, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then there are the great swords, of which there are 2.
3.
3?
3.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, because you take the 2 and then you can apparently combine those 2 legendary ones and make like the super ultimate amazing awesome.
With no stat increase, it just changes color based on what time of day it is. Although
Is that
I have to
sunrise?
say, yes, sunrise
And then the
Twilight.
other one, Twilight. Yeah. If you
And then there's,
if
like-
you fuse them, they make another one.
yeah, it's like the Great Sword of Dawn and Dusk or something.
Mhm.
Which, if you want to see a preview of it, there is an enemy outside the gates of Ara who wields Twilight.
No way.
Yes,
So people are going to start farming him and hoping that he drops it.
he does not drop it, but it looks
How do
awesome.
we know?
It
How do we
leaves.
know?
How do we know? Oh, that's true. He
Yeah.
could actually. No,
It might be
the
a one-
legendaries
a
are
one in-
only crafted, but you
I
could
know,
probably
I know.
get Dusk of.
But
Thank
how
you.
do we truly know if it's got a 1 in 100 million chance of dropping from the sky? How do we truly know?
What we're gonna
Don't
do
send people farming on him. Be
is
nice.
we're going to go to Seattle, Christian. We're gonna find the ArenaNet building. Tiger Feet will scout it for us. because they'll be like,
It's not
it's
in-
Tiger
I didn't
Feet.
get to go to the building.
We
They
love
didn't have-
Tiger Feet. But they'll see you and they're like, oh, come in, have some coffee, and you'll be looking around and you'll be identifying where all of like the duct work is. And then Christian and I will infiltrate through the ducts that you've drawn a wonderful map for us, get into their server room, hack into the actual like core client, and we'll bring in some of the guys from like Guild Wars 2 DB who do all the client
You actually
analysis.
know what they're doing.
Who know what they're doing. We're just there because it's our idea, and so we're like sponsors.
And apparently
We're
you want to
chaperones.
incriminate yourself, so
Apparently. It's not fun if it's not a felony. What?
His plans. And now you know.
You need
Yeah.
a spirit face.
So the other thing with the link is that it breaks down the recipe for each weapon, which basically, good luck, have fun, and
Oh my
we'll see you
goodness.
in 5 years, because it really will probably take that long.
You know, it reminds me kind of, from what I'm looking at, of what it would take to get the Max, Kurzik, and Luxon titles, both of them, to get one legendary weapon for time investment.
Mm-mm.
Time
Difficult.
quite
investment,
possible.
maybe. I disagree. I feel like it's a really good long-term goal, kind of like God Walking was in Guild Wars.
I'm
It
actually
except
not
involves you
complaining
doing a
about
lot of different things and being good in a
Yeah.
lot of different areas of the game, which is something I can get behind. So
Yeah.
I will be going for one,
Oh, yeah.
doing all different kinds of stuff, trying to get good at all different kinds of things. I'm gonna have fun
So-
with it.
God
Yeah.
Walking is down on the floor where I'm sitting, and a legendary weapon is through the roof and out towards the sun. In terms of my view of achievability,
I don't know. I think Guam is God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals is just as is harder. I think it's a more time investment because
Maybe we should ask Dave.
Seeing
No,
as
no,
he
no.
is
We said one Guam, not 10.
wait, what?
There-
There's a guy in Pig who has 10 Guams, one of each profession.
He's Dave Core. Dave Core Dave.
You can't see me
Mhm.
right now. I'm just staring at the camera going, "Oh my goodness.
Well,
This is why Hamstorm Nation is amazing, because we have people like that.
Holy
Hmm.
smokes." So does he have like a computer surgically inserted inside of him and he's just like constantly playing
He's got
Guild
a
Wars?
family and a full-time job too. I don't know how he
Oh
does
my
it.
goodness. He's
And
just
he-
been playing.
Oh,
got his
oh,
master's
how old are
degree.
his kids? How old are his
Right.
kids?
I'm not
Oh.
sure.
If they're like, 5 or 6, he just sits them in front of the computer, says, "All right, kids, tonight you're farming Kurzik faction for me." And
Done that with
and that's
his
why he's
sister.
got a big family. He's probably got like 30 kids, and he's like, "Kurzik, done."
He's got
Why
it down
are
to a
kids-
science. He knows which ones are account bound, and once you've got one, how many you need to do.
Oh wow,
And which
that's
ones are
amazing.
the quick ones, and which ones you want to avoid.
Yep.
I mean, once you've got 2 or 3 grams, you should pretty much have that down pat, to be honest.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. I don't have one.
It's okay. I don't either. I
Okay.
barely got
Cool.
30. Like, Jim, the leader in Pig, was handing me Zaishin keys the night of the head start to get me to 30 points.
Oh my goodness, really?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes. I was like, I want to be 30 of 30, 30 of 50 before the game releases. Jim, help me out here.
That's
So you've
cool.
got extra Zaishin keys. I still need my PvP statue.
I don't have any. I use them all.
Dang it. So I to be honest, I think that it is. I agree with Spirit that it's a valid long-term goal that people. It's kind of nice because it puts the brake on all the people who are like, I'm gonna rush to 80, I'm gonna do all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, legendary. Oh, okay.
I actually have
that's-
to play a variety of things.
I can't just race like 30 characters to 70 or to 80 and then, like convert everything that they've gotten on the way up to legendaries. What? So, I think it's definitely a valid thing. Although it will
Here
be
I was
interesting to
thinking
see.
that cultural armor would be the pinnacle, and dungeon armor would be the pinnacle.
Well, I mean dungeon armor is the pinnacle of armor, as is I think
That's true.
cultural.
But then
are
you can
the
also get
pinnacles of
dungeon weapons.
Right.
I'm going to need to play a profession now that can use a bow so I can shoot rainbows.
Well, you've
Because-
got warrior, right?
Right.
that's not
I've
a
got my
short bow.
warrior.
Oh, is the rainbow
Eighth.
bow a short bow? I thought it was a long
Yeah,
bow.
it's a
Yes.
short
Oh,
bow.
kudzu is the. Well,
So-
okay.
Kudzu's pretty cool too. I'd be happy with Kudzu.
Ranger and thief, right, for the short bow.
Ranger.
Is that
I'm
it,
kind of
really?
Anyone
SOL
else?
considering my favorite profession is engineer, and they only get like 3 weapons.
It's so
Rifle's
true.
really cool, though.
The rifle does look cool.
I know you like your rifle and your engineer.
I do like my yeah. That's a nice looking rifle. The Predator. Ooh.
Yeah, that thing looks awesome. I thought it was interesting. Someone I was watching, I think it was like Guildcast or someone, where they said that essentially the engineer. Oh no, it was Buildcast, which is Gamebreaker's new show. The rifle is Tristana from League of Legends. And there we go.
What do you mean?
I just
It
had
is
to lean
Tristana.
over to grab it.
Oh, so what I mean is that the abilities, if you look at Tristana in League of Legends, and
Yeah.
she's the little like.
Oh, I see. You mean like for this profession, the rifle skills are like
Are
Tristana
identical.
skills.
Like the first,
Okay,
like there's the knockback, the mutual knockback, there's the jump, and all
Yep.
these other things. And so it's kind of interesting.
What I usually do on my engineer when I'm fighting just one creature is I will usually let's see, what is it do I do? It's been a while. I'll jump shot to them, and I'll use my blunderbuss, which will stack on bleeds, and then I'll use the overcharge shot, I think it is, that knocks us both away from each other. Then I'll net them, and then I'll just start shooting at them, and when they get up close, so I don't remember. I seem to net them twice. No, I'll net them, and then I'll jump shot in to make sure I land on them, and then I'll do that. And by the time they get out of the second net, they're usually dead.
Nice.
I have a system.
You have a rotation? What?
Mhm. I do. No turrets required.
It's almost like jumping in and throwing your keyboard down the stairs. I don't know anyone who does that.
Can you count that as a rotation? Is face roll a
Yes.
rotation?
Yes.
I suppose
You put
because
your face on your
rotate-
keyboard and
you
roll, and
rotate.
then every time. That's rotation.
I don't know.
Rotation of the
It's
keyboard
really
tumbling
hard on
down
the
stairs.
cartilage. I've found.
That is a
I
really
would say that
hard to say.
throwing the keyboard down the stairs is really hard on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Or your stairs, depending on what keyboard you have.
That's true, and you can get plastic surgery from your nose for your nose, as opposed to like a keyboard. You have to buy a whole brand new one. So-
Have like a titanium implant on your nose so that you can face roll better.
And titanium.
Yeah.
Oh, mayhap. Oh. Hopefully not. That would be painful. I would not be a fan. Anyways, Tiger, you one of the
Yes.
reasons that you haven't been able to level past 12 or 11 or
18.
18. I'm going
Get
to
it
keep
right.
saying 12. I'm trying to like purposely
I
bring
think
it
my
back.
I think my
by the end
engineer's
she'll
at
be, like,
12,
level
which is
4.
the account I want.
Mhm.
You were able to go to ArenaNet though, or at least to PAX.
I went to PAX. Their party was not at their studio. I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping I'd get to see their fancy pants studios, but considering everybody who wasn't at the party was probably at the studio working their butts off to try to keep everything working properly, I can understand not wanting to have a bunch of slobbering fans in to say hi. Probably not be conducive.
As they're all like yelling at each other, fix the trading post.
Yeah, it was really cool. We went. I hung out with the Guild Wars Entertainment Network folks a lot. Malibu Barbie and all them, and Kavand and Arcaze and no, not Kavand. Gosh, I don't know. I met a bunch of Twitter people, and I don't remember who they are. They were really tall. A lot of them were. But on Saturday we went and we hung out at like the venue they had. It was this sushi bar thing. It was only like 500 people. And we were there, I want to say 4 hours early. There were some people who were lined up since 9 a.m. that morning for a 6 p.m. party. We weren't quite that crazy. We were like the second group in line, and they moved us all over because mall security was going crazy and people were complaining, but we weren't being bad much. Mostly we busted out this amazing card game while we were in line called Cards Against Humanity. It's very inappropriate and hilarious. It was it was so much fun. But yeah, once we got into the party, they gave us all swag. I got this is a little card. It's for a Guild Wars 2 Dragon t-shirt in-game that I'll apply once I get my account sorted out. We all got one of these. Most people went around getting them signed. I didn't. I feel a little weird asking for signatures. They also gave us, yeah, look at me showing you all my swag. They didn't give us one of these. I had to buy that. Got a t-shirt. It's got cat hair on it because I wore it and haven't washed it yet. But it was a lot of fun. I got to meet a bunch of devs. I met Jeff Grubb. I had him sign one of my business cards and send it off to one of my friends who's a huge D&D fan, big fan of his. I spent a lot of time with Matthew Medina, who's the city designer. He also made the Crichton alphabet. That was him. Who else? I met Kristen Perry, finally. I spent like half the night looking for her, and then I finally found her, and I said, "Hi, I'm Alexis." And she's like, "Oh, hi, Alexis," because, they're meeting 5 million people. They're not going to remember anybody. And then I go, "It's Tiger Feet," and she like tackles me with a hug, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing." So for the next like half hour, I was a complete creep and just followed her around. And I'm just like, I don't have anything to say. I just want to hang out. And I imposed upon her, and I got her to draw this for me.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, she was really nice. And then I just kind of hung out, and it was great. And afterwards, I went with some of the Guild Wars, the Gwen folks, and we went back to their hotel room and had an after party. And I stole away one of the devs, and we played more Cards Against Humanity, and he did really, really well. I wonder what goes on in that studio that he's got such a twisted mind. It was a lot of fun.
He spent 5 years on a MMO.
Yeah.
What do you think happened?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was very surprised. A lot of the devs, when I introduced myself as Tiger Feet, they knew who I was, and it was. Now I'm afraid to put anything on the blog, because when I write my blog posts, I just kind of imagine I'm ranting at a blank wall, and I don't actually think about that anybody's going to read it. So it's like I got stage fright now. I'm sure I'll get over that eventually. I have a bad memory. I'll forget that they read it, and I'll be able to write again.
Who are these people again? I think they make a game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play some Guild Wars 2. I don't know who makes that, but these people are pretty cool.
Don't they make aren't they making the sequel to World of Warcraft?
Oh, that's right.
What they're doing?
Yeah, it'll be out in like 5 years or so. I think.
Little did you
Oh,
know
man,
that
I'm so pumped for that. I'm so pumped. Oh.
Titan, yeah, it's a steampunk, and we'll see. It's like it's a
Steampunk
wow.
robot unicorns?
I think so. Steampunk pandas.
Steampunk robot pandas.
I would play that game.
So
I would actually. I think I've just sold myself Titan.
With a top hat and a monocle, a 3-piece suit.
That would
Someone
be
make that.
we will
Have to
call
pay
it, and
to get that.
it'll be called Dapper Panda.
It gets better and better.
Does he have spats? Please say yes.
Of course, it's a Dapper Panda. What Dapper Panda doesn't have spats?
Spats are my favorite out of fashion thing.
Oh, before we become Coehl did say to me earlier, he's like, I'm gonna come back from a week off, and it'll be a World of Warcraft podcast. And apparently it is. Oh, so I think we found the title of it. We became a WoW podcast. Probably not. That might be a little bit too misleading. Anyways, well, it's been fun talking to you guys.
Yeah.
For the viewers, feel free to send us email questions, comments, whatever you'd like to our email at relicsoforr@gmail.com. If you want to come find us, you can just message Shongaku, as you can see my name there, Coehl, Cohel, I think, yeah.
EHL?
EHL, it might be EHL. I'm terrible at spelling.
Yeah.
It's a curse.
Go to Orr, find out.
Yeah, go to Relics of Orr, which relicsoforr.com. and we'll be there. You can also find us on the Emery Bay server, Relics of Orr, or if you want to join the super hardcore Hamstorm Nation, they are on Northern Shiver Peaks. They're our LI guild, and they are awesome. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
See ya.
Later.